Welcome back to the high-octane world of Formula 1, where adrenaline runs as hot as the engines and driver clashes are unavoidable. From on-track collisions to fiery exchanges in the pit lane, the sport has had its fair share of hidden moments. These athletes are always driving with the sole intention of winning the race, and when some external factor disrupts their plans, they become very frustrated. So, in this video, we'll talk about the most disrespectful F1 moments. We've carefully selected a few famous tense situations involving F1 drivers, but before we go into detail, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos. 6. Piquet versus Salazar. An incident that went down in Formula 1 history and is particularly remembered for drama and emotion is the one that involved Nelson Piquet and Eliseo Salazar during the 1982 German Grand Prix. It was the kind of episode that can be symbolic of what motorsport is: tension, frustration, unpredictability, and even a true brawl that's one of the most disrespectful memories on the track. The event was the 1982 German Grand Prix, which was held at the Hockenheim Ring, a circuit with long straights and a limited number of tight chicanes. This year, Nelson Piquet, who represented the Brabham team, was leading in the race and seemed set to win. By then, Piquet, who was only in his second season in F1, had already been a world champion in 1981, was a convicted hothead on the racetrack. On lap 19, Piquet was getting close to another slow car, Eliseo Salazar, who was driving an ATS. Salazar, his fellow countryman, was inexperienced and slow compared to Piquet and was nearly on a lap with the leader. During the lap, when the two racers approached the Os-Curva chicane, Piquet decided to overtake Salazar using an inside move. What happened next was a colossal breakdown in communication. Indeed, it appeared that Salazar was not even aware of the move Piquet made and went into the corner with the impression that nobody could be overtaking him. It was a disaster on the track when two cars collided and had to be taken out of the race. It was a huge disappointment for Piquet as he was leading the race and it seemed that would be his winning moment. It was disappointing from Salazar's side for the first time when he could not learn how to respond to blue flags and control traffic on the circuit, which is common for the backmarkers in F1. 5. Verstappen versus Ocon. The incident involving Max Verstappen and Esteban Ocon took place in the 2018 Brazilian Grand Prix, and to many, it was one of the most shameful in the recent history of Formula 1. Verstappen, who represents Red Bull, was ahead of everyone when the checkered flag was near, and it seemed that he was going to win comfortably. Still, during the attempt to overtake Ocon, who was at Force India, the two cars crashed at turn 2. Ocon was on fresher tyres and trying to unlap himself when he tried to pass Verstappen. The two crashed and both cars spun off. Verstappen was leading the race only to be outclassed by Lewis Hamilton, thereby finishing the race in second position. That resulted in Ocon driving into the back of Verstappen, and both drivers ended up in separate incidents that cost Verstappen the race. After the race, Verstappen was angry at Ocon and aggressively approached him in the post-race interview, putting his hands on the young Frenchman several times, provoking anger among the two drivers. While Ocon insisted on his right to unlap himself, many, including Verstappen, felt that it would have been wiser for Ocon to be more careful, having in mind that he was racing a leader. The FIA ruled on the matter and gave Ocon a 10-second stop-and-go penalty during the race, and Verstappen, for physical contact with Ocon, was instructed to 2 days of community service as a penalty for his unsportsmanlike conduct. This was the case with the famous collision of Aqua and Marquez that pointed to the high rivalry in F1 and cyclical discussion for the rest of the season. 4. Alonso versus Hamilton. Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton began their rivalry in the 2007 season as teammates at McLaren. Alonso was strong, a two-time world champion at the time, but rookie Hamilton proved himself comparable to Alonso's performances on track. As the season advanced, it became apparent that there will be a battle for dominance within the teams, and more importantly, for points within the championship. Their most well-known clash happened in qualifying for the 2007 Hungarian Grand Prix. Alonso, dissatisfied with McLaren's methods of managing interpersonal relations, purposefully slowed down in the pit lane to block Hamilton's car during the third qualifying session when Hamilton had to stop for refueling. This decision made Hamilton lose a good chance to challenge Alonso for the pole start. The stewards gave Alonso a 5-place grid penalty and also disqualified McLaren from any points for constructors in the race. The occurrence showcased the strained camaraderie between the two drivers and internal strife within the McLaren team. The battle escalated to the extent that both drivers were vying for the 2007 World Championship and were not shy of getting into scuffles both on and off the track. While Alonso and Hamilton are reported to have fallen out that season, it presented a big F1 rivalry between two incredibly skilled and competitive drivers who did not want to give in. 3. Prost versus Senna. The hatred between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, both F1 drivers, is among the biggest in Formula 1 racing history. But the two got to their worst during the 1990 Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka. In the previous year, 1989, a similar incident had taken place between the two at the same track, by which the Frenchman Prost clinched the championship. But Senna never forgave the FIA for that and considered himself highly offended by the way this episode had been staged. But in 1990, Senna had his revenge. Starting from the pole, he deliberately hit Prost at the first corner of the race and made sure both their cars were out of the race. Senna won his second world championship in the last race, but how he did it was in a very poor manner and also treacherous. While some people applauded his unfairness, some were disgusted at the lack of gentlemanly conduct, bearing in mind the danger involved in hitting at such relativistic speeds. Senna went on to confess that he indeed staged the accident, hence it's one of the most painful and unsportsmanlike moments in the history of F1. 2. Schumacher vs Coulthard. A skiddy moment between the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher and the McLaren of David Coulthard during the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix is arguably one of the most infamous incidents that fans of Formula 1 have ever witnessed. The race took place in the Spa-Francorchamps circuit that received a continuous rain downpour, and this made the race very risky and caused many accidents. In the car number 3, which belonged to the Ferrari team, Schumacher was clearly on the lead and seemed set for the win. When Schumacher steamed down to Coulthard, who was 2 laps behind in his McLaren, he tried to pass him. But there was woe for Schumacher on lap 25 in the backlit miss caused by Coulthard hitting the rear of the slower McLaren. In that incident, Schumacher experienced a big crash on the track that severely damaged his Ferrari and he had to pull out of the race. He claimed that Coulthard had eased off the pace deliberately in the tough visibility conditions and lost a valuable victory as well as the points which are vital for the championship race. In the aftermath, Schumacher was fuming and went into the McLaren pit to get Coulthard. There was nearly a physical fight after Schumacher told Coulthard that he nearly killed him in the race and both had to be restrained by the team officials. This is a story that Coulthard had wished to let Schumacher overtake him, but due to the intensity of the rain, it had not been observed that he had slowed down. Although the above said situation did not lead to the deserved punishment for Coulthard, it turned the rivalry between both drivers into high octane and also became a moment of highlight of the 1998 season. The clash can be remembered as a way for temper and aggression to be characterized even by professional racers in the course of the competition, especially in the unpredictable environment that's characteristic of Formula 1. 1. Schumacher vs Hill. The clash between Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill took place in the final race of the 1994 Formula 1 season in the Australian GP in Adelaide, which was one of the most significant events in the history of F1. Schumacher for Benetton and Hill for Williams were fighting out for the World Championship. The race was always going to be important for both drivers, but especially for Schumacher as he only had a 1-point lead going into the race. In lap 36 on the same lap, Schumacher went off the course and hit the wall with his Force India vehicle. When he rejoined the track, Hill tried to overtake him at the next corner to get into the lead, but Schumacher drove into the rear of Hill's Williams and the two cars crashed. Schumacher's Benetton was out of the race and Hill's car was in bad shape and slashed off after he came in for a pit stop with a damaged suspension. Since neither driver was awarded points for the collision, this result ensured that Schumacher would finish his first world championship 1 point ahead. The accident raised controversy right after the event, and most critics blamed Schumacher for a deliberate crash to win the title. Despite this, Hill did not make direct accusations at the time, but he expressed his frustration over the incident. Schumacher's victory is still one of the most contentious in F1 history, since some people believe that he was overtaking his rivals in what was a very unfair manner, while others said that it was an accident in the course of the race. This crash effectively defined the competitiveness of Schumacher and Hill and made Schumacher more infamous for his aggressive behavior on racing tracks. So, which moment do you think was the most disrespectful? Drop it in the comments down below. Now, if we missed any, share them with us too. And before you go, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.